welcome to this week's episode of the Sports Bandits. I'm Austin here with Brian, and we're going to be talking about Week 10 of college football season.
Are you sure?
No, I got two numbers on my screen. One's the episode number and one is the week number, and I decided we're going to go with 10.
Okay.
This is definitely Week 10, Episode 11. Brian, why don't you talk about our first game?
Our first game is Baylor, the Bears, that have had a great season, one of their best of all time, going to Stillwater to face the OSU Cowboys. This game is a game between overachievers in the Big 12 South right now. These two teams were picked to come in 5th and 6th in the Big 12 South, and right now they're in 1st and a tie for 2nd. So right now I think Baylor, they're excited to be in this position. They've never experienced success like this, and they're having to travel to OSU. They got two really big games left with at OSU and having Oklahoma come to Waco. I look in this game for OSU and Brandon Whedon to quickly find Justin Blackman, get a couple quick scores on the Baylor defense that has been mediocre at best all season long. And I look for him to quickly find that and try to put Baylor down early. On the defensive side of the ball, OSU has to contain Robert Griffin. Any team that has contained Robert Griffin this season has been able to push past Baylor. Texas Tech was able to do it in the second half in the Cotton Bowl, and they were able to put away Baylor in that game. I look in this game for OSU to really key on stopping Robert Griffin, and if they can do that, I think they can pull out this game.
Well, for Baylor, they're coming off what might be the biggest win in the history of their program, winning at Texas. Something that you didn't think was going to happen at the beginning of the season, but they're having a great season. Going to OSU, there's definitely a risk of having a hangover from that game, especially since you're playing a very good OSU team. You don't even have to be caught off guard to be beaten by OSU. I expect there's going to be a lot of points scored. Griffin and Whedon are two very good quarterbacks who are going to put up a lot of scores. For the Baylor defense, you're going to have to stop running back Kendall Hunter and wide receiver Justin Blackman, who's coming off some rest, let's just say. So he's going to be rested. He's going to have opportunities to score. The Baylor defense is going to have to step up against them to give Griffin and the offense to have a chance. Also for Baylor on their offense, running back Jay Finley, if he can step up and put up good yards on the ground, he really opens up Robert Griffin's game for his chance to throw and also run.
Our next game is a big matchup in the Mountain West Conference. The TCU Horned Frogs travel to the Utah Utes. Austin, how do you think TCU can pull this game out?
Well, this is truly a matchup of top 10 teams, not only by ranking, but both of them have top 10 scoring offenses and top 10 points against in defense. When you think of TCU, you generally think of Andy Dalton, the quarterback. 16 touchdowns against 5 interceptions. He's really the face of the program. But did you know this season that TCU's actually run the ball twice as much? They do rely a lot on their run game, and that's anchored by Ed Wesley and Matthew Tucker. You're going to see the running game needs to have success in order to open up the running lanes, not only for Andy Dalton, but also his passing game as well. That's going to be important against a very good Utah Utes defense. For TCU, they really haven't been challenged at all this season since they played Oregon State. They did play Baylor, but they blew them out, and this is before Baylor really had woken up and figured out who they were. It's important for TCU. They need to start off strong, considering this is their biggest game in 9 weeks. If they need to get a good score and establish the run game, or else if Utah gets an early score, that's going to really get the crowd into it and have a chance to take over the game.
Well, if you can't imagine these two teams being as similar as they are, the keys for Utah are almost the same as the keys for TCU. TCU's rush defense is one of the best in the nation by far. The big thing for Utah is their passing offense. I think TCU can maybe drop one man back to try to cut down on that passing defense. I think the key in this game is for Utah to have a balanced offensive attack. If they can rush the ball any at all against this TCU defense and make them commit more men to the box, it'll open up the passing lanes for Jordan Wynn, and he can maybe exploit the TCU defense and find some holes and get some big plays. On the defensive side of the ball, Utah has to stop the TCU rush. For the exact same reason, if TCU starts to rush the ball, it'll open up the lanes for Andy Dalton to hit everything. And I really think in this game that Utah just needs to step up, stop the run, and they need to run the ball. So I think the key to this game is whoever can rush the ball will win this game.
Going on to the SEC, there's two big matchups this week. The first one we're talking about is Arkansas Razorbacks are traveling to South Carolina to take on the old ball coach of the Gamecocks. Brian, what do you see happening?
Well, the key for South Carolina in this game is to stop Ryan Mallett. That's the key to stopping Arkansas. All you have to do is get the crowd behind you and stop him. Seems simple enough. Not really. Ryan Mallett has had a spectacular season, and the games that Arkansas has lost, people have gotten to him and flustered him and knocked him out of a game. I really think in this game South Carolina can come out and they need to get the student section behind them and they need to stop Arkansas's offense like they were able to shut down Alabama's run game. If they can shut down Arkansas's pass game like they shut down Alabama's rush game, they will have a very good chance of taking this game at home.
Yeah, that's interesting to see how similar this game ends up being to the other Alabama game because the keys are very similar. You're not facing Mark Ingram now; you're facing Ryan Mallett, who was a Heisman contender at the beginning of the season. He's still a great quarterback, even though he's out of the chase at this point. He's going to have to throw for a lot. I think he's going to throw for over 400 yards either way, and that's going to be key for Arkansas. On defense, I think it's going to be difficult for Arkansas to stop Marcus Lattimore. I think that's what they're going to have to key on. Garcia's a good quarterback, but I think they're going to need to let him try to beat them and not Marcus Lattimore because he's really dangerous with the ball.
Another big matchup in the SEC this weekend is the Alabama Crimson Tide traveling to LSU to face the Tigers. Austin, how do you think that LSU can win this game?
Well, they're going to have to play a lot better than they did against Auburn. Their quarterbacks, Lee and Jefferson, have completely underperformed, not only in that game, but all season. You've seen it in their timing errors against Tennessee that almost cost them a game. They didn't play great against Florida. They're lucky that they only have one loss at this point. And it's mainly because of their defense that they only have one loss. The defense has played very well this season, and they're going to have to stop Mark Ingram this week if they want to have a chance to win. They need to stop Mark Ingram and the Alabama offense, and they need to give their offense the ball, get good field position, see if they can at least get a field goal early, maybe a couple field goals, and get the crowd into it, because when the LSU crowd is on, it's really scary.
The LSU crowd is scary, and they're playing at home at night. The formula is right for LSU to knock off Alabama in this game, but I don't look for Alabama to have much trouble in this game. Like you said, LSU's had a lot of trouble this season with a lot of the games they've played. They should have lost to Florida. They did lose to Auburn. They just had many games that they just haven't looked very good. I think their only hope is if Mark Ingram gets confused with the 5-yard increments being on the field, because that confuses me when I watch LSU play at home. But I think that in this game, McElroy and Ingram just have a big game, and they have no problem putting LSU away.
Final matchup between ranked teams this week is Arizona at Stanford. Brian, how do you see Stanford doing?
For Stanford in this game, I think their key is Andrew Luck. He's one of the best NFL-ready quarterbacks in the country right now, and I look for him in this game to try to exploit the Arizona pass defense. Now, if you're Arizona, you want to key down on the run because Stanford has had a lot more yards on the run this year than on the pass. So you're going to be keying on that, but I look for Andrew Luck to throw over the top a bunch in this game and be able to exploit the Arizona defense.
Well, for Arizona, obviously, you have to key on Andrew Luck, who's also their second leading runner as well as quarterback for Stanford. The other quarterback for Arizona, Nick Foles, he's been injured. He's been out a couple weeks with a dislocated kneecap. If that knee holds up, then I think he gives Arizona an okay shot to win.
All right, now we're going to bring in our guest who won the drawing last week on our 10th episode to help us make our picks for all the games this week. So let's welcome Stephen Watson. Hi, Stephen. Welcome to our show.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Austin, why don't you start out?
Well, the first game we're going to predict is OSU and Baylor. I think OSU is the better team. I think Baylor's going to have a little bit of a hangover, fall behind early, and they're not going to be able to catch up in the end. I think OSU will win this 35-31.
In this game, I look for OSU, Brandon Whedon, and Justin Blackman to hook up early and often throughout this game and be able to exploit a Baylor defense that really hasn't been tested. Texas defense is not that great. Or Texas offense, is not that great. And I look for OSU to be able to exploit the Baylor defense and OSU to take this game at home. Stephen?
I actually disagree. I really do think Baylor's going to come out and win this one. I mean, OSU, yes, they've had a really good season, but looking at their schedule and looking how their offense has been, congratulations, OSU. You put up 54 points against Louisiana Lafayette. I mean, way to go. So I really do think Baylor's going to come in and just keep pounding them until they win.
Second game is TCU going to Utah. This is where College Game Day will be at this Saturday. Brian, what do you see happening?
Well, Utah hasn't lost a game at home in a while. They were able to take down Pitt in overtime when a lot of people didn't think they'd pull that game off. So I look for them to make a good run at TCU, but right now I think that TCU is the team that's poised to make a run, potentially at a national title. I think the winner of this game will take control of the non-automatic qualifier bid in a BCS and potentially the national championship game. I think the winner of this game will jump Boise State for good on the season. but I do look for TCU to take this game in Utah.
Yeah, I think TCU realizes the importance of this game, that if they win, they really put themselves in the driver's seat for if Oregon or Auburn were to lose, you cannot keep them out of one of those top 2 spots in that case. And for them, this is their chance to get into the championship game, basically like a national semifinal game. If Utah wins, they have a good shot to make it, but then again, they also would have to hop over Boise State and wait for the other team to lose. I think TCU realizes the importance, and they'll win by 3.
Well, this really is going to be a close game looking at this, so it's going to be a great game to watch, but I do think TCU is going to have the edge in this one. I think they're going to pull it out after Utah.
Arkansas travels to South Carolina to face the old ball coach. Austin, how do you see this game going?
I think Ryan Mallett's going to have a good game. I think South Carolina feels really good about themselves, but I think they might be looking past Arkansas, who's already had a couple of conference losses this season. I think they're going to Arkansas win it by 7.
In this game, I look for the South Carolina crowd to really get behind him in this game and really be affecting Ryan Mallett, get in his head. I think South Carolina's defense can get in his head, but I think in the end he makes enough moves and gets out of enough that Arizona pulls this game out, but barely.
Steve?
I'm going to have to give this one to Arkansas as well. Just they've looked better this season. South Carolina did beat Bama early on in the season, but ever since then they've been kind of playing iffy in most of their games at best, so I'm going to give this one to Arkansas.
Battle down at the Bayou, the Crimson Tide roll on in to face LSU. Brian, what do you see?
Like I said, I really think the only hope for LSU is if the field confuses the Alabama players. I really look for Alabama to have no problem in this game. I look for them to take this one fairly easily.
I think Bama also have an easy time. I think the LSU crowd will keep it maybe a little bit closer than you expect, because it's very difficult to play at LSU at night. But I think Bama will still win 31-20.
I think that if LSU can stop Mark Ingram and they can stop him early and often, that LSU is going to pull it out. But Ingram's proven himself to be a very reliable player, so I'm pulling Bama out after this one.
Our last game is the big Pac-10 matchup of the week. It's Arizona at Stanford. Austin, do you think the band will have an effect in this game?
No. But I do think Stanford will win this game. I think Andrew Luck will have an effect in this game, and I think he'll throw for a couple of touchdowns. I think Nick Foles coming off the injury is just not going to be in sync the way he was earlier in the season, and I think Stanford will win it 35-27.
I like Arizona, the road team, in this game. I really think that they've showed that they know how to play ball. Mike Stoops having one of his best years at Arizona, and I think that they win this game and are poised to go up to Eugene in the following weeks and maybe make a run at the Ducks. So I like Arizona in this game.
I mean, Brian, you're right. Arizona has had a great year so far, but I really do think that darn tree of Stanford's really going to confuse the entire team, so I think Stanford's going to pull out on this one.
All right, well, thank you everyone for watching again. We'd like to thank our guest, Stephen, for being here again this week. We invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and also to like our page on Facebook so that you can keep updated with all the contests we have and maybe have a chance to make an appearance like Stephen. So again, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.